I'm speaking to Mr. William Ball, otherwise known as Bill Ball, who directed The Taming of the Shrew, which we've all seen just now, and who is also the artistic director of the American Conservatory Theater of San Francisco. Bill, I enjoyed the show very much, and I'd like to know how the idea of or the conception of the production you used came to you.
Well, the Commedia dell'arte has always fascinated me. I wanted to do a production in that style, and well.
Let me interrupt you and ask you to explain to some people who may not be familiar with the term what the Commedia dell'arte is. I know it, but I think other people mightn't.
Well, it originated in Italy. It wasn't a formal style. There were traveling companies that made up their own scripts, and one actor would develop one type of personality, and he would also develop a certain lazzi or shtick, certain business. Yeah. And actually, it's the father of all comedy. I borrowed from the style. Actually, Shakespeare wrote this play borrowing from the style. Many of the names, the Italian names, Baptista, as a matter of fact, is one of the character names of a Commedia character. And I thought it would be the vitality of the Commedia dell'arte style would lend itself well to The Taming of the Shrew.
I think you've succeeded in that very much, and keeping the actors all together is a very, very good idea. Tell me, what I was very impressed with outside the play itself, which is very jolly, it always has been, what interested me most is the company itself, because they're extremely well trained. Their speech is excellent, their bodies are pliant and extremely vital, and they move well, speak well. You feel that they might even sing well, or they're funny. How do you find these actors? How do you train them?
Well, we have a conservatory and a repertory company together. It's a unique concept of theater in this country, and our actors are constantly in training and while they're in repertory performance. We do 9 repertory plays a year, and they rotate so that the company is constantly playing together. They play as many as 5 or 6 parts a year. And
they must be very happy.
Yes, I think they are. As a matter of fact, that's one of the pleasures, having them together. Many of these actors have played together for 3, 4, 5 years now.
You have a permanent company. In other words, they're not just engaged for the show, most of them.
That's
they're
right.
There for the season and don't have to worry how long the play is going to run.
That's right. And so they get to know each other's style. They get a sense of rapport together. And also, with a director working with them, you can refine, you can help an actor to refine his craft over a period of years so that you bring out the best in him. Now, you said something once that very much affected me. I don't even remember, I don't know whether you remember saying it.
I don't remember what I say.
You said,
I hope other people will.
Well, sometimes you drop a line, you know, Harold, sometimes you say one line and it can change a person's life. You said, everyone in the commercial theater cares about the fruits of the tree, but not too many people are looking after the roots. And that struck me. And so in forming the ACT, I thought, well, let's take care of the roots as well as the fruit and the flower and the stem and the entire creative process for the actor. And so it's beginning to pay off now. They get along very well. They're a very harmonic group. Mainly because they're so busy. In other words, they have so much to do.
They have enough time to worry.
That's right. There's no time to fuss, because at 10 in the morning until 11 at night, they're either in rehearsal, or they're understudying, or they're teaching, or they're studying, training their own instrument, their own expressiveness, and so that we keep them so busy. You see, the thing is, I think an actor should be very much like a ballet dancer, in training all the time, and he should be working, sweating at his work, not just visiting the theater at 8:30 or 8 o'clock and coming out for 2 years straight. An actor dies that way if he, in a long run of one play. He must be acting every day, and the expression must be coming out and coming out and coming out. And then when it's a natural flow, what happens is then the good and intuitive and natural imaginative self starts coming, you know. Unless it's flowing, there are many blocks to expression.
I agree.
And fears and things that, that close off the expression. But if he's spending himself all the time, spending, then the natural, the self comes forward.
That's very good. That's very good.
Another thing that keeps them healthy is that they're teaching and studying.
The older ones are teaching
the
the
older
younger
ones are teaching the younger ones, so they're
Do
passing
they make
on
good
the
teachers?
information. Yes, amazingly. The thing is that they always say, oh, I wouldn't know what I would teach. I don't know. I've never taught before. And they're always nervous when they begin. But once they've done it for 3 or 4 weeks, they always want to go back to it. It stimulates their imagination, and it's amazing. They have to go back and remember and verbalize techniques that they take for granted. And
Who
it
were
helps
the
to keep them
teachers?
lively.
Excuse me. Who were the teachers trained by? Were they trained by you or by teachers all over the country?
Well, they come from all over the country, and some from overseas.
Do you do some teaching yourself?
Yes, I do.
What do you teach?
I teach
Advanced acting, so to speak?
Yes, so to speak, and I teach scansion and dynamics and
What's scansion exactly?
iambic pentameter.
Oh, I see.
Shakespearean
Yes.
scansion.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
And I also have taught in the last couple of years a course called Heroics, which essentially is an aid to actors to get into the life of large or heroic plays.
To give them grandeur.
Yeah, well, to give them, awaken the grandeur in them, I think.
Yeah, that's right, because I always speak about grandeur, and they say, what do you mean? And then I have to tell them the feeling you get from a cathedral and all sorts of images to make them realize that the theater should be always somewhat larger than life, no matter how realistic, so to speak, it is.
It always has to be real, but
there has to be something more than reality, because reality is enough once.
Yes, yeah, and then it becomes commonplace.
Yes. Reality is reality. The theater is not for reality. It's for something more added to reality.
Right, illumination and...
How long do you run your plays?
Each play plays about 35 performances, but they play in rotating rep, so that we start in October and we go through until May.
It doesn't confuse the audience that, you know, one night it's one play, another night another
No,
play.
I think they like it.
You like it?
Yeah.
Bill, for Europeans, repertory, the idea of a repertory theater is old. It's been going on for a long time. But in America, it's an unfamiliar idea. The words are familiar, but the action isn't. And there are many people who don't know anything about it or how such thing is formed. And I think it would be, since yours is one of the most successful, if not the most successful in America today, I'd like you to tell me and to tell all of us how you began, what your difficulties were, and how you arranged it and how you worked it out so that you could establish this in San Francisco and make a success of it.
Well, all through my school days, I was tremendously drawn to, it was a kind of exotic idea. People would speak of ensemble theater. And your book, The Fervent Years, about the group theater, where you have a community of people who believe in what they're doing, working on something together. This attracted me tremendously, and I always had it in the back of my mind. And then when I came to New York and was working in the professional theater, I found that I was always working with strangers. You go from one production to another, and you spend the first 3 weeks of rehearsal getting to know new actors, new designers, a new producer, new writers, and you spend a lot of time just getting to know people and their technique.
That's true. Now, but just tell me, when you decided to go to San Francisco, were you invited there, or did you present your idea to some group? And how did you acquire the actors? How did you engage them?
I had worked a lot in nonprofit theater, and I had decided that I was going to leave it completely. And so I thought, well, before I leave nonprofit theater, I'll write a paper and say what I believe a theater should be. And it turned out to be 26 pages and described my ideal concept of a theater. And I didn't expect it to go anywhere, but the Rockefeller Foundation picked up on it, and they funded us in Pittsburgh at the Pittsburgh Playhouse.
First in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, and in association with Carnegie Tech. And we were there for about 6 months, and then differences in policy and so forth led to our taking the company on tour, hoping to find a home. And we played in Connecticut and in New York. We had a visit here for a while, and at Stanford University. And then Cyril Magnan, who is our champion in San
What
Francisco.
business is he in, by the way?
Well, it's Joseph Magnin stores
Oh, I see.
are his.
That's a famous store.
And he's one of the leaders of the community of San Francisco, and he saw us, and at that time the Actors Workshop had just closed, so San Francisco was...
The Actors Workshop was Blau and Irving, wasn't
That's
it?
right, yeah. He had come to New York, to the Lincoln Center,
That's right.
and I had just done Tartuffe at the Lincoln Center, and so we sort of switched places. And
Yeah, I remember I was on that board. So
that's right, that's right. So we arrived in San Francisco, and the idea of a permanent company started to take hold, and I found tremendous. See, it became for me a kind of experiment in human energy. If you have one group of people, we have about 200 people working together. Now it's a cellular unit of energy. And the challenge is to see how these forces, human forces, can be brought together to work in maximum harmony, maximum efficiency, best use of energy and time, and also to see how large how big a flower, how great a light can be made, can be generated by these people
how
working
many
together.
plays have you done since the beginning?
A little over 100.
Well, that's marvelous.
Yeah.
Is the press very cordial to you, to your effort in general?
In general, yes. Actually, I think we've got some of the best critics in the country there. I don't always agree with them, but I think they're good writers, and I think they love the theater. So it's a very agreeable
Well, that's
arrangement.
wonderful. I congratulate you. Thank you, Bill Ball, for your conversation and your explanation and the fine production of the Taming of the Shrew. And I particularly feel like congratulating NET for having produced the American Conservatory Theater under Bill Ball in the wonderful production of The Taming of the Shrew by someone called William Shakespeare.